anyone they disagree with. All of this, on top of remote learning and hybrid instruction, makes already tough conversations even more challenging. Lee Gaines from member station WILL takes us into some classrooms that are working to bridge the divides.
Okay, let me put my specs on so I can see who's here.
Kelly Keogh takes attendance in his social studies class at Normal Community High School in central Illinois. About 10 students sit in front of him. The rest are doing remote instruction. Each group takes on a different lesson for today. With his in-person class, Keogh begins a discussion about polarization in American politics.
What's the magic word that we find in the Constitution that predicated the entire document around this word? And I think if we look back at film, there's a word that former Speaker Boehner couldn't even bring himself to say in the course of it.
Magic word.
Compromise.
Keogh has taught history and social studies since the mid-1980s. He says political polarization has gotten worse, and it's seeped into the classroom.
Today, I mean, if you announce that you're on this side of an issue, very often your immediately communication shuts down. And so trying to get my students to hear an opposing viewpoint, to be open, it's a challenge.
It is much more challenging to teach civics now than it has been in the past, but it's also, I would argue, much more necessary.
Diana Hess is the Dean of the School of Education at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She studies how middle and high school students learn about politically controversial issues. Hess says schools aren't to blame for political polarization, but they could be a part of the solution. The key, she says, is teaching students how to talk to and respect the political views of those they disagree with.
I do think overall, we will find that if lots and lots of young
that's
people
not a
are
woman
taught how
over
to
there.
do that,
It could be
that
homeless.
should at some point begin to have an effect on political polarization.
But Hess cautions that not all views deserve respect, like those based on misinformation or racist ideology. So educators also need to teach students how to become critical consumers of information. Tracy Freeman teaches social studies at Normal West High School, across town from where Kelly Keogh teaches. After the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, Freeman says she heard from a former student. They told her they went to Washington that day for the Trump rally, but made it clear they didn't go into the Capitol building.
And just wanted to talk again. Just wanted to say, like, hey, I came for the rally because, and this is someone who shared that they were a fan of President Trump's, not necessarily a Republican.
Freeman didn't criticize the former student for attending the rally. Instead, she asked them to reflect on what they learned in her class about charismatic leaders and why blind loyalty to anything or anyone is a problem.
My goal was not to make him not be a Trump fan. My goal was to get him to critically think about being in a situation out of loyalty to a person that could have ended up very badly for him.
Freeman says part of her job as a teacher is to stay connected to her students as they develop and question their political opinions. 17-year-old Andrew Harrell loves his civics class at Belleville East High School in southern Illinois. He says his education has taught him how to talk to people he disagrees with and still be friends.
One of my friends from school is more to the left, and I tend to go the other way. But one thing we value a lot is talking about our differences in ways that we can both coexist, as we have, figured out how to do.
But Harrell is upset by the conversations he sees on social media, where people just trade insults.
And if there's no, consequence for it, and if there's no push to communicate in a friendly or respectful way, then it will just drive our country further apart, and that's how a democracy will fall.
Harrell's classmate, Mariah May, is also a 17-year-old senior. She says polarization prevents students who disagree with each other from spending time together.
Like, the pandemic hasn't really helped with that either, because a lot of people have become comfortable going online to express how they feel, and they've become less likely to approach how they would a situation online in person.
May says she hopes a civics education can help normalize respectful in-person political discussions.
All right, guys. Hey, so real quick, when you spritz your desk.
Kelly Keogh, the teacher from Normal Community High School, says the pandemic has made it harder to engage students in tough conversations. Some of his full-time remote students keep their cameras turned off during class.
It's almost impossible to have effective discussions, especially on controversial issues when you're not having any eye contact.
He says those challenging classroom discussions are easier when students are in person, but even then, they're wearing masks. That makes it difficult to interpret facial expressions. But Keough is committed to fostering debate among his students, so they'll have the skills they need for the future. For Here and Now, I'm Lee Gaines.
I mean, like, in the class, so what if you don't like Trump? What if you like Biden more than Trump? And the other way
Now
out.
is a production of NPR and WBUR in association
Personally,
with the BBC
I love
World
Trump.
Service.
You know, he's
and Peter O'Dowd.
And I'm Jane Cleason. This is
represented
Here and Now.
for Republican. He really being nice, and he keep his promises that I would love to. Future, I'm gonna be in the U.S. Army. I know personally, I'm immigrant. I mean, the immigrants, people, they don't like Trump because his strict immigration laws, you know, like, you don't know how to do this, you know. It's hard for you to react to his behaviors, his speech. He got a very straight and he's very courage to against the whole world. The whole world is full of leftists, you know. They don't like Donald Trump, to be honest. I'm gonna publish this on YouTube video, so yeah. I just don't want to talk about, you know, talk about politics, Trump, Biden, you know. I mean, they have pros and cons, but I love Trump more because in America we have First Amendment that we can express our freedom of speech. We can contribute our values to the whole country, you know, like in Vietnam, you know, like we are forbidden to speak out, to say our freedom of speech, to express our, you know, our opinions toward the issues in Vietnam. In Vietnam, we don't have Democrat or Republican. We just have one party only. It's Communist Party, you know. They call them as socialist, or something like that. Don't care much. I mean, when it was legal age to vote in Vietnam, I didn't have the chance to vote. My dad, he voted for me, you know. I didn't even know, like, my, you know, my elected representatives. Yep. You know, like governors, senators. I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't even know, like, neither of those people were which objectives, like which goals they set up. They followed to adjust our situation to be better, you know. I mean, like, they didn't do anything, like no debates, no campaigns. I mean, I think they got a short campaign. They just like put their objectives or their stuff on the newspaper or on the paper leaf, right? So they just gave us, like, they gave the leaflet. I mean, yep, paper leaf, yep. So to each of the people at the local,